As men tied to the earth, we dream of visiting the stars.
As strange of an experience as it is to come to the realization that the Earth is actually not what we've been told, and that what we see in the skies above us is not what we've been told, and eventually coming to that realization that, yeah, in short, we're dealing with things that are in the realm of the supernatural and the metaphysical. But what's almost just as strange is realizing that in many ways this has kind of been right in front of our faces the whole time, represented in so much of the various science fiction programming having to do with outer space and space travel and so on. And this is something that just continues to unfold now that my eyes are open to it. I see it almost all the time. And there's all sorts of various ways that you see the metaphysical aspects of, represented in space travel and in science fiction, kind of manifesting themselves. Always having to do with technology. Of course, technology being that which bridges humanity from our current state to sort of a new level of human evolution, a new level of human capability, and so on. But even just on a more archetypal level, I'd suppose we'd have to call it. Just recently I was looking at this little clip of the astronaut tethered to his spacecraft, and suddenly it reminded me of the idea of the the astral traveler, the person doing astral projection, where they're tied by this silver cord to their body. And that again was a connection that I hadn't thought of before, but it's kind of amazing when you actually start to really look into the issue of astral projection, which is an occult practice that is increasingly common. And I mean, you can look up videos on YouTube on how to do astral projection, and the visuals you're looking at right now are actually part of an instructional video it's a meditative aid trying to help you leave your body and do astral projection. But of course the visuals that they chose are these, space nebula images. And you actually see this all the time once you start looking into new age material, and they're actually trying to do an animation or an illustration, and they're trying to show the spiritual realm that the practitioner is trying to come into contact with through meditation or astral projection or whatever, or rituals, and all these things. Much of the time it is portrayed as looking exactly like outer space. And in many ways it's the same sort of desires kind of behind both concepts, or the same sort of the same idea of freedom, of flying around and being able to go anywhere you want and go visit alien worlds or go visit alien beings and have conversations with advanced alien races. It's just another form of the ascended masters idea. I mean, the more you really look into all these things, you see how interwoven the whole idea of space travel is with occultism and witchcraft. And that's where its origins are, whether it's the Nazis or Jack Parsons or whatever else, but all the propaganda that we see today. But it's something that just continues to make me wonder just how far that reality actually goes, how far the metaphysical aspects of what is believed to be going on in outer space, even with things like satellites. Speaking of archetypes, I was looking at some footage the other day, and just suddenly it struck me just the curious nature of how satellites, 9 times out of 10, are shaped, are portrayed as being shaped in a way where they have these solar panels that fold out like wings, and they look like these sort of flying bugs or creatures with wings, which I suppose they claim is because of there's an engineering reason for creating them that way, so that they can actually unfold out from the satellite. But it just kind of got me thinking and made me wonder, like, how do we even really know that communications signals, which are just various forms of EM waves being beamed up towards the firmament at a specific location, whether it's stationary to a part of the Earth or supposedly moving in an orbit, and then that point in the firmament is sending EM waves back down that can be interpreted through machines, technology. How do we know that that is not actually engaging with something with the spiritual realm as well? I mean, if indeed the electromagnetic elements of creation are indeed something that is an integral part of those higher spiritual dimensions of the luminaries, and how they however it is that they work, these metaphysical aspects that interact with the physical, this bridge, it has very much to do with electromagnetism, and things like Richie from Boston's recent thoughts on these occult sigils and the connections in the similarities to electrical circuits. I found that fascinating, and we keep coming back to these things again and again. And so who knows all this really going on, but one way or another, we know that all this technology is ultimately designed to bring people into deeper bondage with the demonic, promising enlightenment, promising apotheosis, promising to bring us to that next evolutionary step, and on and on. But it's a trap. That is the trap. People who wake up to certain elements of the New World Order, we'll talk at length about all the ways that the controllers, trap us, and through the banking system and the media and all these things, and those are all absolutely true. But all too often they are just completely oblivious to the realities of the spiritual realm, and that there are rebellious spiritual entities who have rebelled against the Creator, and the whole deception is theirs. that there is a real being who the Bible calls Satan. And he is the mastermind behind all of this. All of it. Evolution and space and the heliocentric model and all of these panopticon technologies and everything. This is his false system. And if you believe in the Luciferian lies that fuel it, it doesn't matter how much of the symptomatic things that you're trying to overturn, because you've still swallowed the core lie. The core lie of man being God, man becoming God, man re-actualizing his own divinity, whatever. There's 18 different ways to kind of describe the same essential thing. The idolatry of ourselves. That's what it's all built around. And I just wish so many of these people who get sucked into the New Age, and they get sucked into all this rhetoric about how the Bible and religion, which they lump together, is the control mechanism of the elite, but they're blind to how the New Age spiritual message is just being pumped out of all these Illuminati controlled sources, like constantly. And this is the message that they preach. And you're still buying it.